the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. How you doing? It's Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today's Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and UNX Networks. Raise Hobbs. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Tonight, Adam Apollo. Adam Apollo is here. We're going to be discussing the science and the search for E.T. It's going to be a great conversation. Love Adam. He's the best. Tomorrow night, another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. I had a heck of a night last night. I didn't roll in till, man, like 1, 2 in the morning. Yeah, man. It was a great night at UPARS. I'll circle around and talk about that in just a second. But coming up in September, which we're already, there are so many things going down right now. We're going to talk about Artemis here in just a second. That's going down in 2 weeks. I cannot believe it. Going back to the moon. So just lots of things going down. This September 16th, I'll be in Joshua Tree for a private sky watch. And if you want to try to get in on that, I don't know if there's spaces available anymore. I'll get some info about that. But that's September 16th. You can go to Forbidden. That's with a 4. ForbiddenClub.com and mint 10 NFTs. You'll get a black card for Forbidden Knowledge, and you can then get an invitation to come out to Joshua Tree, and that's going to be great. One night in Joshua Tree, one night at Giant Rock. And if you haven't been to Giant Rock, for a sky watch, man, yeah. So that's all you got to do, ForbiddenClub.com. And then coming up right after that in October, I'll be in Egypt with Billy Carson as well and 80 friends. Everybody knows this is my first trip to Egypt, and I cannot wait for this. And yeah, if I can live stream, I'm going to live stream. Trust me, okay? I'm not going to leave all of you hanging. So there you go, okay? And then coming up, I will be hosting and emceeing the Conscious Life Expo again this year. I think I've done this now for 7 years, 8 years, maybe 8 years. And it's coming up February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton. And tickets and info are over at the ConsciousLifeExpo.com website, ConsciousLifeExpo.com. And then April 7th through the 14th, also in 2023, I will be hosting and presenting on the Hidden Secrets Seminar at Sea Cruise. and a bunch of speakers lined up, including Scott Wolter, Adam Apollo, tonight's guest, Nick Pope, Brad Olson, Vivian Chavez is going to be hanging out. This is going to be incredible. So if you'd like to go on this cruise with us, the information is below. The links are below, and come and hang out with us. Okay. I think we also have it over at jimmychurchradio.com. I want you to get your free membership to the UNX network. It's easy to do. Just go over to unxnetwork.com, where you're probably listening to me right now, and you can get there. It's a free membership. So you're going to get the monthly newsletter. You're going to get access to the blogs. You're going to get event notices. You're going to get a free digital copy of their quarterly magazine and lots of other benefits for doing that. So just head over. It's free to the unxnetwork.com. All right. So right now, EdenPURE is having their Thunderstorm 3-pack special. Or is it BOGO? Are they doing BOGO this week? It's BOGO, buy one, get one free. See, this is getting it at 2 a.m, going to bed at 4, and then working all day. Thunderstorm, BOGO, FADERBOGO. That's all you've got to do. Buy one, get one free. Buy 5, get 5 free. Load up your house, your car with this. Today, this is the deal. I'm not making this up. So today I got the tires rotated on the Jeep, and I go over to the shop, and I'm pulling in, and I've got the Thunderstorm in there, and so anyway, the guy comes out and he goes, "I need to pull your car in." I said, "Oh, I'm not going to pull it in. No, I need to pull it in." So I get out. He gets in the Jeep, and he looks around and he goes, "What kind of air freshener is that?" I said, "It's not. It's that." And he picks it up and he looks at it. He smells it. And he goes, "This is great. I'm in these cars all day long. It's the best smelling car I've ever been in." I'm not making that up. That actually happened today. And I was like, Thunderstorm, thank you so much. Get yours now. Buy one, get one free. The promo code is FADERBOGO. You can be proud, just like I was today. It's like that new car smell. It's incredible. All right. FADERBOGO is the promo code. Links are below and also over at jimmychurchradio.com. Follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. Follow me on Instagram at jimmychurchradio. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B right here on Twitter. It's live in front of me. And if you go over to hashtag F2B right now, you will see the famous, not infamous, he's infamous in his own mind, but famous Ken Priest is hanging there tonight. There's Olivia right there. There's Triscale, Stephen Owen, Philip Daniels. Oh, Adam Apollo hanging out in the Sandbox tonight. Nicole Ramsey is over there. And so there you go. Just come and hang out with us over on Twitter, hashtag F2B. You can also follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. Breaking news. I was just talking about the Artemis program. We're going back to the moon, August 29th, right? Okay. Man, I got to hit this coffee. You have no idea how much coffee I drank today. I needed it after that Hummingbird post. I'll circle back to that too. The Artemis 1 mega moon rocket has officially arrived at its launch pad. It did this earlier today, and this time it's for liftoff on a journey around the moon. Engineers and technicians have been busy with checkouts and final testing of the Space Launch System rocket and Orion spacecraft inside the Vehicle Assembly Building at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The Artemis team is targeting its first 2-hour launch window from 8:33 a.m. Eastern Time to 10:33 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, August 29th. I know what I'm doing that morning live. There are backup launch windows on September 2nd and September 5th. This is so exciting. I cannot believe it. Apollo what was that? 74, 72, 74? You know how many years ago that was? Man. Also, more space news because today a spacewalk was cut short just a few hours into what was intended to be a nearly 7-hour spacewalk after a Russian cosmonaut was repeatedly ordered to drop what he was working on and return to the International Space Station's airlock because of an issue with his spacesuit batteries. The battery issues were causing voltage fluctuations in astronaut Artemis' spacesuit. Absolutely crazy. Batteries, right? Yeah, they had to get him in there quick and hook him up to the ISS power distro system. It's absolutely incredible. Okay. If somebody told me to get out of my car, I need to pull it in, they would smell something. Oh. It's on Twitter from Philip Daniels. There's Madeline. Our EdenPURE is on the way. She's got her Thunderstorm ordered. Right on, Madeline. You guys are going to love it. You guys are going to love it. You need it for Brian. He doesn't know that. That's why you're getting it. But I understand. Okay, I understand. Madeline, you're going to love it. Okay, where am I at? Tesla CEO Elon Musk. All right, this is one of those breaking news stories where I just need you to sit and listen and try not to freak out. Are you ready? Elon Musk recently revealed new details about Optimus. What is Optimus? Optimus is an artificial intelligent humanoid robot that will take over the so-called boring task at your average household. Now listen, the bot will be about the same weight and height as an average adult, and according to Musk, it will be designed to carry or pick up heavy objects, walk fast in small steps, and the screen on its face is an interactive interface for communication with people. Musk says, and I quote, "The vision is for them to serve millions of households with cooking, mowing lawns, and caring for the elderly," end quote. They're getting ready to launch this, like now. Think about that. All right, it's going down tomorrow, everybody. Now, I don't want you to freak out just yet because a plume of dark plasma hurled from the sun will be engulfed to form a cannibal coronal mass ejection, which will sideswipe the Earth tomorrow, August 18th, causing a strong G3 geomagnetic storm. The dark plasma explosion was first spotted by solar observers this past Sunday, August 14th, as it erupted from a sunspot on the sun's surface at a speed of roughly 1.3 million miles per hour. Then, the next day on Monday, August 15th, another CME created by the collapse of a gigantic magnetic filament was also launched from the sun. So the two eruptions together merged and they formed a cannibal coronal mass ejection that will hit our planet tomorrow, August 18th. Just get ready. Just get ready. Be prepared. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm doing my public service announcement. Let's get this show cracking on this day in history. 1978. Man, this was such a big deal when it went down. The Double Eagle II completes the first transatlantic balloon flight when it lands in a barley field near Paris, France, 137 hours after lifting off from Presque Isle in Maine in the U.S. Absolutely incredible. You remember that? You remember the video, the Double Eagle II. All right. Well, here you go. Here's your Fader fact today. Man, have times changed. That's all I've got to say. But I didn't know this. You remember back in like the roaring 20s, women had cigarette holders. You've seen all the movie posters, the cars, the car advertising things, whatever. With the big cigarette holder, right? Right, the cigarette holder. They were everywhere. They were in the movies. Women's cigarette holders used to come in 4 sizes. Four sizes. They had opera length, which was 16 to 20 inches. They had theater length, which was 10 to 14 inches. They had dinner length, which was 4 to 6 inches. And they had cocktail length, which was everything shorter. I didn't know that. And that is your Fader fact. Man, times have changed. Times have changed. Yeah, Rosie the robot, right? Yeah, the Jetsons. It's coming. It's coming if Elon has his way. From what I have read, they're looking for a launch date like next year. This is crazy. I mean, it's like done. Yeah. Tonight, very special guest, Adam Apollo, is joining us. We're going to be talking about tonight. Brunch works anytime. Okay, listen. Adam Apollo is here tonight. We're going to be discussing science and the search for ET. Tomorrow night's Fader Night with open lines all night long. Why is it that this show, this program, and the Fadernauts, who I love all of you, we're family. How is it that the discussion is ET, time travel, Bigfoot, and breakfast food? How is it? How do you guys do this? How what's the connection? I mean, I dig it. I'm looking at this plate of breakfast food, man. Hash browns, scrambled eggs, sausage. What's that back in the corner? What are those little round things? Are those? Oh, those. Okay, so it's hash browns and baby potatoes and bacon too. Oh man! So you got the healthy stuff there. You got a slice of tomato. Yeah, that works. Man, that's amazing. Oh, I want breakfast. I have plans tonight, but I guess I'm doing breakfast tonight. Breakfast for dinner. Do you guys watch, before we continue, do you guys watch, or did you watch Parks and Recreation? Did you see that? Did you hear it? It came from back. That was bizarre. You guys saw that, right? Tell me you saw that. You heard it. It came from back there. Whatever it was. Okay, so if you saw that on camera, the noise that you heard, this is mounted. It goes up, it goes back 4 feet, and then goes down 4 feet. No, man, I'm not doing this tonight. That's how many shows have you seen? Have you ever seen that? The noise came from back. All right, man. Look, man, I please just leave me alone. Let me get through the show. Mess around with me after the show. Man. You saw that, right? The whole microphone started shaking twice. Like, wow. Martha says, yeah, she heard it and saw it. Yeah, the ghost is back. Yeah, that was trippy, man. Okay, anyway, Parks and Recreation, breakfast for dinner, breakfast all time of the day, and whatever. I'm totally sidetracked now. I can't remember anything. That was bizarre. Okay, yeah, what was the timestamp? I don't know. It had to have been around 7:18. Or, oh, that's my atomic clock. I don't know what the timestamp would be here. I don't know. 2 minutes ago. That was weird. Hasn't happened again. That was coming. Okay. All right. So I wanted to say, okay, so this is what happened. I was talking about hummingbirds, and I didn't earlier. I was talking about hummingbirds, and so this is what happened today. I found out, I'm just going to cut to the chase. I'm going to get to the end, and then I'll tell you what happened. I found out today that hummingbirds' number one predator is the praying mantis. Okay? Now, I did not know that. It doesn't even make sense. Hummingbirds are bigger. The praying mantis is skinny, and it's like, what? Okay, so this is what happened. And I've had the most disturbing day today because of this. So I walk out this morning, and on my hummingbird feeder in the front of the house, I have a few of them, but this is the one in the front, is a praying mantis, and he's over. There's like these fake flower things that have the nectar in there, and he's over, like all of his legs over the flower like this, and he's standing there. He's holding on. And I take a bunch of pictures. I get on the macro setting and I get really close up pictures. Amazing pictures. Pictures are amazing. Dude turned his head and looked right at the camera. It's like crazy, great pictures. So I come back into the bunker and I want to know how to spell praying mantis. Is it P-R-E-Y or is it P-R-A-Y? Right? It's two different prays. So I type it in and it pops up, and in Google, you get the headline thing, and there it is. It's P-R-A-Y, praying mantis, and it says right underneath it, the number one predator is Audubon Society, and it says you do the search yourself on Google. The number one predator for hummingbirds. It's like, what? And I just like read this thing. I was like, what? And I scroll down, and there is a line of videos on Google, like 10 or 20, right in a row. Praying mantis eats hummingbird alive. Right? Praying mantis sucks the brains out of a hummingbird. Must watch praying mantis devouring a hummingbird while it's alive. I was like, and now I didn't watch the videos, but I'm watching these, and I was like, what? And it was like Alfred Hitchcock, man. The drawback. My world, my paradigm shift, right? And I run back outside, and he's still there, hanging on. And I go, dude, you got to go. And I shoo him away. He crawls underneath. I was like, oh, man, come on. I get a piece of paper. He crawls on the paper. I walk out in the middle of the yard, and I throw him away. I'm walking back 10 seconds, 5 seconds. And I'm walking back off the yard. He flies right by me, right onto the hummingbird feeder. I go, dude, you got to go. Got to go. So I got this piece of cardboard. I get him on the cardboard, and I walk him around the side of my house, almost into my neighbor's yard, a good distance away. I throw him into the bushes. I do the right thing, right? I come back, I sit down in the chair, and I've got my phone. I'm looking at the pictures. Boom, right back to the hummingbird feeder. I'm like, no, this is not, no. So I'm going to say this. The pictures that I posted of the praying mantis were his last or her last. I am not going to. I don't care what goes on in the trees. I've got hundreds of hummingbirds. Nature's up there. If the praying mantises are in the trees doing their thing, that's fine. But you're not going to do it in front of me on my hummingbird feeder. It ain't going to happen. That's it. That's it. And so I did this post, and I told everybody what I had done. I had learned this. I'm telling you, it was a paradigm shift. I had no idea. None. And so I do this post, and there was so many people defending the praying mantis. Like, how could you do? What do you mean, how can I do that? You are choosing a praying mantis over a hummingbird? What kind kind of world do we live in? Man, I've got no emotion. They're enchanted beings. You know who's an enchanted being? A hummingbird. Have you ever seen a hummingbird do its thing? It's the most unbelievable thing in all of nature, right? And I did not know this. Now, I haven't watched any of the videos. I don't need that in my brain. But the thought of this, just the cover photos, the thumbnails of the videos, it's like, dude, what is a friggin' snuff film? Oh my God. So I didn't know this. And I love learning things and every day, adding something and learning. I cannot believe I never knew that and learning that. Wow. Now, don't go watch the videos. Don't go watch the videos. Don't go do it. But I'm telling you, don't ruin your life. Don't go watch any of those videos. But I'm going to defend my hummingbirds to the best of my ability, at least around the feeders. All right. Yeah, it was crazy. Go over to Facebook. Look at the picture. The pictures are unbelievably. And I also remember, it's like 6 months ago, I was on the back patio and there was a praying mantis on that hummingbird feeder. I took that one down, walked over to the bushes and flung him into the bushes, never came back. He didn't. But that guy today, oh, man. Anyway, so last night at UPARS, I just wanted to say this really quick. I posted a bunch of pictures over at UPARS. Everybody that was over there, it was amazing after 2 years to get everybody together. Adam, you can't just jump in. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Adam, come back. Now you might as well just come back.
I thought I had to turn my camera on while I'm still waiting in the queue, but sorry about that. I didn't mean to just pop in.
Once in a while, you'll see that on late night television. Somebody that's supposed to be on the show just walks out of the green room, walks on the set like the place.
Hi, I'm here. I'm on stage. How's it going, everybody?
What's going on? So, you just can't pop in and just disappear. So, everybody, Adam Apollo is here tonight, and we're going to take a quick break. I will come back, and now watch this. I have the power. See you, Adam. I'll see you in 2 minutes. Adam Apollo is here. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. And man, why does he always look like that? That just bums me out. We'll be right back after this short break. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer and UNX Networks. Raise Hobbs. Tonight, it's Adam Apollo. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. Right now, EdenPURE is having their famous BOGO deal on Thunderstorm air purifiers. One listener wrote, "It makes a huge difference in our cat litter box stink. I just wish I waited for the BOGO deal. I need another one." Well, now's the time. BOGO is back, so when you buy one Thunderstorm, you get one free. No matter how many you buy 2, you get 2 free. You buy 5, you get 5 free. The Thunderstorm will completely eliminate any odor, even the worst like pet, cigarette smoke, urine, and cooking. Now is the time to order. EdenPURE's buy one, get one free sale is 1 week only. With over 265,000 Thunderstorms sold and countless 5-star reviews, you know it works. People are buying several for around the home and even as gifts. Just go to EdenPureDeals.com and use discount code FADERBOGO. That's FADERBOGO, FADERBOGO. BOGO is buy one, get one free. That's EdenPureDeals.com, discount code FADERBOGO. And as always, shipping is free.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the UnXNetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the UnXNetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UnX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time.
It's new.
It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Mantis, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. And has everybody noticed my Speed Racer t-shirt gifted to me last night from Ramon? Thank you, Ramon. Man, that's a shiz nickel right there. Tonight, Adam Apollo is with us. And here's the deal. He popped in right before the break. And now I'm ready, and he's not. I'm not making this up. He is literally, okay, there he is. Okay, now he's here. Tonight we're going to be talking about science and searching for ET. As a child, Adam had several encounters with extraterrestrial starships. Since awakening at 15 years old, Adam dedicated himself to extensive studies in theoretical physics, symbolic geometry, past life recall, metaphysics, martial arts, energy therapies, and many diverse ancient and modern traditions and practices. He is a founder of the UNIFY movement and is a faculty member of the Resonance Academy for Unified Physics and the Guardian Alliance Academy for Self-Mastery. All of his links are posted below in the description box over on our website, throughout social media, all of that stuff. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black for the second time tonight, Adam Apollo. Adam.
Thanks so much, Jimmy. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm telling you, I had the paradigm shift today with these hummingbirds. I had no idea. You and I were talking about this earlier. It really messed with my head. Nature is nature. I get that. But you know what? I can play my part in nature too. as the master top of the food chain predator and protect the hummingbirds, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they consider praying mantis kung fu so vicious. I mean, praying mantises are seriously powerful creatures. And, you know, I had one as a kid. We didn't know it was pregnant when we caught it and put it in an aquarium. And it had thousands of microscopic babies that were so small they could escape out of the aquarium and went everywhere around the house. That was the last praying mantis I ever kept.
So did you get grounded for like a month?
No, my mom was cool with the praying mantis being there. And besides that, my mom was pretty cool in general. So we came to a lot of understandings through good communication more than anything else.
Yeah, right on. I wanted to say one thing. You were a gentleman and a scholar last month. I just want to tell everybody what happened. And I felt self-conscious about it later. So Adam and I are both speaking. I'm hosting one stage at Disclosure Fest. You're right next to us at another stage.
Yep.
And you were supposed to be with me. That's another story. So anyway, you know, it's the way that they had to balance it out. And, you know, so anyway,
cards fell.
So, yeah. And so I walk over and I was being a bit of a dick. And Adam is on stage, focused, man. It's packed. It's everybody's there and they're whooping and hollering and I just walked right up on stage, broke your thought and took a selfie and then walked off the stage. And I'm like, why did I do that? Because it broke your flow. And it wasn't cool. And I walked on, was like, man,
You're just being a rock star, Jimmy. You're just like, look at me. I'm a rock star here. I'm just going to get up on stage with this guy. I'm going to do a selfie with him right here that I'm going to use for promo with my radio show next month, which you did. And you walked off the stage and I was like, okay, where were we? Let's see. Spectral constructs for warping gravity. Right. Yes. Okay, let's get back to it.
That's exactly what it was too.
Yeah.
And I went and I sat in the front row, and just for a second I thought, man, he's gonna glare at me. I mean, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't. Nah. But I asked for it. So I'm here apologizing tonight. But I just thought about it. But then Adam just did it to me a few minutes ago. So, I know what the feeling is like. Adam, welcome back to the program, my man.
Thank you.
And these are pretty amazing times. And for you, I just want to ask you this, because you've been on this path of knowledge seeking since you were 15 years old.
Yep.
And trying to get this information out there and teaching and doing everything that you can.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be very frustrating. Well, now, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, it's gotten a little easier, hasn't it? Where the world of science is like, they're on your side now, and you're not, you don't have to beat the drum as loud. Do you feel that that's what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school in the late 90s, I'm aging myself here, but that's all right. Essentially, I'm discovering that energy around my body has the capacity to connect me with someone across the room or across the state or across the world. And I'm starting to understand that literally space-time itself is this lattice of wormhole networks entangling different vibrational states between different locations. And it wasn't for, 10 years or something after that, maybe 15 years after that, some scientists like John Wheeler and a few others started actually publishing content on the intersection between ER and EPR. In other words, how do Einstein-Rosen bridges or wormholes connect to the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen theory of entanglement? And that maybe entanglement is actually occurring because of wormholes. And so, in the days when I'm in high school, I not only was not surrounded by other academics who were studying this kind of stuff, but I was in the space of high school education and having to read books by guys like Lee Smolin on quantum gravity and, the brilliant work of Brian Greene and The Elegant Universe to better understand relativity, and Supersymmetry, Gordon Kane, and other books like that I was reading essentially on the side for pleasure and for understanding, because my questions about the universe just couldn't be answered in the context of the world that I was growing up in.
I want to talk about John Wheeler for a second.
Sure.
Because any of the physicists out there that lean on the open mind side of things, right? Yeah. Where they've got more of an open mind. Every single one of them cites John Wheeler.
Yeah.
Right? John Wheeler, and he's also one of the most difficult physicists to go and get information on.
Yeah.
It's a weird situation with John, but what was it about Wheeler that all of the physicists admired so much that they cite him constantly?
Well, I mean, the man literally wrote the book on gravity. So, like, if you're taking a college level course on gravitational physics or on astrophysics, you're probably going to get this book called Gravity that's so heavy that you really learn what gravity is just by carrying the dang thing around.
Right.
So, I mean, that I think was his, I would say, magnum opus of credibility. And from that standpoint, people would often refer to Wheeler because of his work, encompassing all of this knowledge about gravitational physics. And it turns out the man's actually also kind of a visionary and keeps to himself and is in some ways a renegade from the standard academic world. Slightly. He plays inside the lines a lot. But even, the publication of his insight that he had in the middle of the night one night, where he wakes up and he's had this vision that the entire universe only has one electron, and decides to share that. And it becomes this sort of mythy story that gets passed around the academic world, but is substantiated by the fact that this person is such a great thinker, and probably used to make fun of him a lot too. But that sense of sort of a spiritual realization meeting the space of academic sciences, I think, is very valuable, which is one of the reasons I deeply respect his work.
And so for the physicists out there, because you're right about that, they all stay in bounds for the most part.
Yeah.
Right. They don't want to go out of bounds.
That's right.
But Wheeler allowed them to know that it was okay. You don't have to completely go nuts, but it's okay to walk to the edge and take a peek and maybe think outside of the box.
Right.
And I think that's what Wheeler showed everybody, and they admired him for that.
That's right. I agree with that. And it's an expression of a sense of freedom, sovereignty, and independence, which I think is something that is probably one of the greatest struggles in the academic world, because in order to make tenure, in order to get that funding for next year, you better do what's right in those lines. That's going to get you the money and is going to get, help make sure you're still working within the construct of what that university is going to be proud of. And so that forces a lot of people, I think, to sacrifice that independence, that sovereignty, that innovative thinking, and try to innovate and iterate only in small ways on existing proofs.
The change that has happened, and there is a huge shift of current here in the search for ET, where now the funding for this, we can just point at the James Webb Telescope specifically, and exoplanets and fast radio bursts and everything, and the quantum side of this that applies to everything else too as well in the search for ET. Now that so much information has come in so quickly that it is now okay to say, hey, I want to go look for ET. It's not, right? It's not this woo-woo thing in physics anymore, is it?
Fortunately, it's broken into the mainstream in a big way. And I think that that's a sort of natural diminishment of people's being fixated on essentially information that was just part of disinformation programs for many years. I think it was Stephen Greer at one point who said that 95% of all information about extraterrestrial stuff is disinformation. And that was when I met him in the early 2000s. And I think he was absolutely right, because when people would think about UFOs or extraterrestrials, what do you think about? Little green men, this little, head that has a certain shape. It's this very kind of pop culture-y, green men from Mars kind of thing. And all of that really intended to essentially disenfranchise and discredit anybody who was wanting to talk about that as a serious piece of content. But now, partially because of Stephen Greer and the Disclosure Project and the work of Stephen Bassett and many other great leaders in this area, you get generals in front of Larry King on Larry King Live talking about essentially unidentified craft coming into the atmosphere and shutting down nuclear weapons, live, and that all of them are testifying to this. That starts to create a role of people actually asking the real questions. And we've seen that continue to build up over the last few years. And you and I have been talking about this over the past couple of years on this show as well, about how now it is absolutely a valid conversation to have. That's a scientifically backed conversation, because there's more than enough data to show, including Pentagon, expressions that off-world vehicles have been recovered and things like that. Mm-hmm. That if someone thinks it's crazy talk, it's because they're just not actually paying attention to what's happening.
How do you think, and you've obviously applied your mind to this many times, mm-hmm. but how do you think it's going to be introduced? Is it going to be microbial? Is it going to be some biosphere is discovered, from the James Webb? Is it going to be a fast radio burn? How do you think they are going to throw this softball at us?
Yeah. I mean, there's already multiple angles that it's coming in from, a Navy pilot verifies video of craft traveling in a way that can't be from Earth, that just splatters up across the news. You've got Caroline Corey's work, A Tear in the Sky, literally high-level scientific instruments triangulated in an area that's right next to Los Angeles, by the way. This isn't out in the middle of nowhere, and captures essentially what looks like a wormhole opening in the fabric of space, an object showing up, and the wormhole closing, as well as a whole variety of other things with top-level scientific instruments. And the trickle of news coming out around that, and the trickles here and there, and of course the telescope, pointing at extrasolar planets, in other words, planets around other stars in our galaxy, and showing that absolutely, not only do we have 300 million plus planets out there that we are sure exist around this galaxy, up to potentially 90-something% or more of all stars in our galaxy having planets around them, and potentially in the hundreds of millions that could support life, and now the capacity to actually tell the spectral frequency of the atmospheres of those exoplanets and actually identify if they can bear life. So, I mean, we've made massive leaps forward from where we were 20 years ago. And I think disclosure is happening not just through one area, and there won't just be one thing that says, oh, yep, they're here, oh, yep, that happened. But it's been something that's been here for a long time, not only in ancient history, but in modern times. We've observed and observed and observed and observed and observed. And now it's just a matter of people actually coming to terms with that and starting to get curious about what does it mean that we're part of a greater galactic civilization.
I'm going to check this out. Just as a courtesy.
Yeah.
All right. I want you to look at this. Ask Adam how we can rationalize the equations for electric force and gravity are of the same form. Electric force, Q1 times Q2, what is that, divided by R?
Radius squared.
radius squared. I don't have my glasses on.
Sorry.
Versus gravitational force. M1 times M2 divided by, is that again radius?
Yeah, it'd be radius squared probably.
Radius squared.
Just talking about two masses, and yep.
Okay, so that's gobbledygook to me. What does that mean to you?
I mean, he's not talking about. These are two very specific equation outputs that deal with electric force and gravitational force, and in this concept, like this particular construct, I'm not sure that this provides the rational link between them, just because you're dealing with a radius squared, so you're dealing with essentially like an area based on radius that's having an amount of force, whether by mass or by quantum, process that's occurring within that space itself, right? I think that in order to get there, we actually have to look at where electric force comes from and where gravitation comes from. And to do that, what we need to do is actually look at the discrete quantum mechanics of space-time itself. And if you look at the work of people like Lee Smolin done back in the 80s, like they solved the first equations for quantum gravity. And since then, there have been many other outputs of looking at quantum gravity that essentially show that space-time is a discrete geometric structure, meaning that it's like nodes and edges. There's a vibrational structure to what makes up space-time. And if you actually get down to the mechanics of understanding that structural space, it all comes down to the limit of the electromagnetic field. In other words, looking at Planck length electromagnetic waves. There's a Schwarzschild condition that occurs when you reached the Planck length with a wavelength of light. And that means that essentially at that point, you can't go smaller in the wavelength of light because the amount of energy would collapse in on itself based on the amount of space that it's taking up. That's the Schwarzschild condition. And so essentially what we're looking at is this point where the light frequency gets so high that it's literally is the pixelated structure of space-time itself. And the structure of space made of these Planck level length bundles of light, essentially forming generally a tetrahedral lattice through space-time, curving around pentagonal vortices, forming geodesics, which is like Buckminster Fuller's work. And you begin to start to see that the curvature of this structure is what is required for mass to be in existence. In other words, a bundle of space-time makes a proton. And around these bundles of space, these spheres of space that make protons, you have these torsion effects and collective amounts of protons that are also curving the wider structure of the lattice, and thus we're describing gravity. But all gravity is curvature of space-time, and that's Einstein's work going all the way back, and all that space-time is made of is electromagnetic field. It is electric force.
And this is what is trippy about that.
Yeah.
Because your description, I'm going to get this in before the break. Your description, people are visualizing an enormous side of this.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about Planck lengths. And so we are made up of the same gravitational force. We have to be that you're describing there. What you're describing there is in our bodies. It's in everything that is around us, and then out into space, and then further, but connected at Planck lengths, which are absolutely what is that the smallest distance of anything, right? I don't know.
I mean, it's pretty dang small.
It's pretty dang small.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Amira Valbaker working with Nassim Haramein who did some calculations and showed that essentially that if essentially a Planck length structure is the size of a grain of sand, then the size of a single proton that's in the nucleus of an atom would have the radius from here to Alpha Centauri. So we're talking about tiny, tiny, tiny little tiny pixels on, a gargantuan structure just to make a proton itself. And, you can't see the protons because they're so small that there's, trillions and trillions that make up your body, or make up, trillions that make up cells, and then trillions of cells that make up your body. So it's quite a phenomenally small thing we're talking about.
And, and here's the other thing when it comes to physics and consciousness. We can talk about Planck lengths and particles, protons, electrons. We can talk of quarks. We can talk about all that stuff. But what is mind-blowing to me is the molecules and particles that make up my body are mine. And how do they know that? They don't have brains. What is the difference between me and this flashlight? Nothing.
Yeah, not a lot. Well, and the fact that you're shedding and the flashlight's shedding, and somebody else picks up that flashlight and they have a piece of you now in part of their skin and their hands. I mean, we're exchanging protons all the time with the air around us. We're breathing each other's air. Everything. We're constantly in this breath exchange with the universe around us, and that starts to get really profound when you start to look at the nature of a proton as an information storage device, and begin to realize that protons are storing memory through the entire lifetime of the universe. So we're actually just exchanging different parts of the memory of the universe itself in and out of our bodies all the time. And that sounds fantastic until you really get down into the physics of it, and it's just beautiful.
It is beautiful. Somebody was over at my house this a few years ago, and we're having dinner. And he goes, Jimmy, take a deep breath. I said, okay, all right. And he goes, you just breathed in the same oxygen as the dinosaurs.
Yeah, you probably got a molecule or two. Yeah.
And you just stop and you think about that for a second. That is crazy town. So you're absolutely right. We're sharing all of this all the time. And I don't get it. How the same gravitational force that is holding an atom together on the other side of the universe is the exact same magic that allows you and I to breathe and talk right now. That's mind-blowing. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, the one and only Adam Apollo. We are talking tonight about the science and the search for ET. We'll pick up where we're leaving off right now. This is Fade to Black. Be right back after this short break on the Game Changer and UNX networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
Right now, EdenPURE is having their famous BOGO deal on Thunderstorm air purifiers. One listener wrote, "It makes a huge difference in our cat litter box stink. I just wish I waited for the BOGO deal. I need another one." Well, now's the time. BOGO is back, so when you buy one Thunderstorm, you get one free. No matter how many you buy 2, you get 2 free. You buy 5, you get 5 free. The Thunderstorm will completely eliminate any odor, even the worst like pets, cigarette smoke, urine, and cooking. Now is the time to order. EdenPURE's buy one, get one free sale is 1 week only. With over 265,000 Thunderstorms sold and countless 5-star reviews, you know it works. People are buying several for around the home and even as gifts. Just go to EdenPureDeals.com and use discount code FADERBOGO. That's FADERBOGO, FADERBOGO. BOGO is buy one, get one free. That's EdenPureDeals.com, discount code FADERBOGO. And as always, shipping is free.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can, right now, get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're also the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church, The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Adam Apollo is with us. I was just looking over on Twitter during the break, and somebody said, I hit the black chord, and I'm not sure. I must be talking about this. I don't remember doing that. It came from behind here, but I'm going to go back and watch that video. That was pretty bizarre. Tonight, Adam Apollo is with us. Adam, I'm talking about when at the beginning of the show, my microphone, something popped from this is a monitor in front of me, right? Okay, so and the mic stand goes up and around and mounts behind. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, but behind this, it went pop, and this thing, did that. And it was just bizarre to me. And then it did it a second time. And
yeah, I think I caught that. That's the ghost on your show moment. Like that you have some strange stuff happen sometimes.
Physics. Physics is weird to me. And when we're talking about things like this, what causes that? And you go back to Leonard Susskind, who says over and over again, he says it so elegantly, right? That, and it's just probabilities, man.
Yeah.
Anything that can happen will. It just takes some time, but whatever it is, right? It will happen. And so I'll share this with you, talking about entanglement and movements and atoms and things. So this is about 5 years ago, and I wrapped the show, and my studio was soundproofed, right? So all the walls, ceiling, floor, everything is got sound covering, deadening materials, boards with foam, it's sealed.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quiet. So if I shut up, right, it's quiet. Okay. So anyway, the show's over. And at that moment, I've got noise gates on, so you may not be able to hear this, but I'm sitting there, and behind me, right, I'm just sitting here like this. And then behind me, this happens. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, something just strummed my guitar behind me. I didn't even want to turn around and look. Now, what does that? That's some Lenny Susskind stuff, right?
Yeah.
But
I love that you're relating a poltergeist strumming your guitar to Leonard Susskind. I wonder how he would feel about that.
But isn't and well, he described this thing one time, and we're talking about physics here.
Yeah.
He says, imagine you're in your kitchen and you've got a bowl of oatmeal in your hand. This is in one of his seminars. And he goes, you drop the bowl of oatmeal, it shatters on the floor, and then every atom collects itself and it reassembles and comes back up and into your hand. Now, may not happen now, but it will happen one day.
Actually,
right?
it already did.
Yeah,
I mean, what he's getting at, the deeper point of what he's getting at is essentially, quite a controversial edge in academic theoretical physics, but it's essentially negentropy or syntropy, which is understanding that if the universe was purely entropic, then how could you go from a giant explosion, which is essentially the oatmeal hitting the floor and blowing up, into a state where the oatmeal is self-ordering itself, i.e. all of the mass and energy and everything that's just loosely expressed across the universe is self-organizing into nebula, forming stellar cradles, forming stars, which go through a fusion life cycle, creating more complex elements than hydrogen, and then ignite in supernovas that act as cradles for the elements that create life, like carbon and metals and all of these cool things, that then self-organize into planetary systems around other stars that have formed and essentially formulate themselves to the conditions that enable the possibility for DNA to form, life to exist, and you continue, and eventually you get not just the oatmeal in your hand, your actual hand has come from this sense of destruction that actually is constantly self-organizing into a greater sense of complexity. That's one of my biggest arguments against a lot of theoretical physicists, and especially those that have such a difficult time understanding that an extraterrestrial civilization could come and visit this world, is because they're still thinking from the level of thought of what it would take to ride a rocket between stars. But that's not what these civilizations are doing. And our own complexity and the ability that we have now just to talk to each other over a virtual line where I'm looking through a window in a screen at you and talking to thousands and thousands of people out there, our voices touching and vibrating their eardrums remotely, it just really asks us to open our mind to greater possibilities.
It's fascinating because particles only have it's a very limited combination that they match up to.
Yeah.
And it's not unlimited. It's not infinite. It's very limited, and we can calculate those numbers. But immediately out of this destruction and explosion and heat and everything that is going down, we get gases and amino acids, right? It's like, wait a minute. How does that work to the point where the RNA and the DNA are sharing? They're file exchanging, right? They're uploading and downloading with each other the sequences of life that allow you and I to do what we're doing right now. It's
absolutely,
it's fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating.
It also all goes back to this idea that certain fundamental patterns in the geometry of the universe are self-referencing, working to store information within the universe. Because as I was doing all this work in quantum geometry and looking at the structure of the proton, I realized that the vortices going into the proton in a geodesic structure, these pentagonal vortices that go into the proton itself, when you look at those vortexes from the top, the geometry is actually the same as the way DNA looks from the top. So you've got these pipelines storing information inside the proton that's the same geometric pattern as the way information is being stored and shared in our body, cell to cell to cell, right? And of course, ancestor to child, and so on and so forth. And so the fact that those patterns are the same, the geometry is the same, points to an innate intelligence inside the mechanisms of the universal flow, right? And so there is actually this beautiful bridge between all of the people that say, oh, it's all intelligent design. And then you got all the people that's like, oh, no, it's all just natural evolution. And you got people that are like, oh, no, it's all like randomized probability science. Well, guess what, guys? It's actually all of those things.
It has to be.
It's just you're looking at it from different lenses, looking into the same crystal, but you're seeing it from different perspectives.
How is it that information, and you've just said information 10 times in 120 seconds. How is it that information doesn't disappear? And what I mean by that is, everybody that's listening to such a crazy question, I do mean everything. DNA is information. It doesn't go away. It is constantly there. It cannot be destroyed. Information that goes into a black hole is retained. Information in the universe doesn't go away. Will it be the last survivor? When everything is done, right? 100 trillion years from now, is information still there?
Yeah, well, I mean, that begs the question of what is information, and can you separate the idea of information from consciousness?
Can you?
I mean, I would answer your question even by saying, look, whenever you're approaching an object as a closed system, then entropy is occurring and you're perceiving information loss. For example, a sun is, creating fusion and it's exploding and all this heat's coming out and all that heat seems randomized, whereas maybe before it was more ordered before it, did that release, and it's randomizing apparently, but all of that heat and all of that light is actually creating coherence on a planet that it's like giving life to. Like we're receiving all that information and energy that seems to be completely, whacked and random and entropy, but it's actually serving to generate life. And if you go further from that to the destruction of the star itself, the supernova that a sun goes through, then you realize that all of the light, all of the elements that make up life on every planet has come from that supernova. In other words, those ordered systems wouldn't exist without that process of destruction, without that thing that we think of as information loss. So this really gets us down to the keynote of like, when you're burning a piece of wood, are you actually losing information inside that wood? Or is the information just changing form into a state that we don't understand how to read that information yet? My good friend Robert Grant likes to say that, essentially anything that we don't yet understand, we just simply don't have the mathematics for it yet. Like, we think that these things are mysterious. We think that it's random, but things that we look at as being random are actually patterns that we can't yet comprehend. And I think he's right, because in doing the work with him on this quantum encryption system, we were digging into the reality that hidden inside the 1 over X of any public key is the 2 private keys, reoccurring 72 times within a single period of repetition within that 1 over X of that number. In other words, the patterns of the private keys are hidden inside of the public key. Like, that's just insane, right? The fact that that's actually true. And the more we looked at 1 over X's, I started studying the inverse, or you take the number 1 and you divide it by another number. You're creating divisions of the 1. You can think of it as divisions of a circle. And I'm taking all of these different numbers and prime numbers, and I'm studying the patterns of the way that the numbers roll out inside of this division of a circle, and they all have patterns. So of course, the more and more complex you get, you just may not be able to see the pattern, but it's there. And this is really powerful, coming back to our conversation in physics, because when we study light and we're looking at wavelengths of light, what we're actually looking at is a 1 over X. It's the 1 over wavelength. It's Rydberg's formula and so on and so forth. The way we look at light is actually looking at this whole spectrum that's radiating, and a certain amount of that spectrum is all absorbing into things, and a little bit's reflecting back out, and thus we call something blue or red. But it's really just that the red is reflecting out, and the rest of that energetic spectrum is absorbing in or traveling through, etc.
Now, when we start to understand concepts like this, and this actually dovetails right into Caroline Corey's fantastic little 5 minutes of film. Well, it's a great, A Tear in the Sky is a great picture, but that moment in the film is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where apparently, right, and we don't understand. I'm telling you, when I first saw it, way before the picture was released, and I was looking at that, I didn't understand what I was looking at, which goes back to what Robert Grant and you are saying here. We can observe it, but we don't have any clue what is happening here. But apparently it's pretty easy for somebody to pull off because they understand it. We don't understand it yet. And it is when we go out with the James Webb, and TESS and these other systems that were out there searching for ET, will we understand when we observe it what some kind of technical signature like what happened in A Tear in the Sky?
I'm so glad that you bring this up, because I so often laugh at the efforts of groups like SETI, because you've got this like Allen telescope array, you've got the Laser SETI project, right? And Laser SETI's like, we're going to watch the whole sky, and we're just going to wait till someone's little laser beam from another planet like just hits our array, from their star system. And as soon as that laser beam hits, like, we're going to know that there's some kind of technology out there, right? That's going to be the way that we're going to prove it. And yet when you consider a galactic civilization who has already adapted their capacities to be able to essentially control the fabric of space-time so well that they can create an envelope around their craft, jump to another location in space, and they're definitely not organizing those jumps or that superluminal travel, which would be faster than light travel. They're not doing that using radio waves. They're not doing that using lasers. And the reason we know for sure that they're not is because lasers are way too slow. Radio waves are way too slow. Using light to try to coordinate that travel, you'd be sending the beam of light from a star system, like the Pleiades, which is 400 light years away, and it's going to take 400 years for the beam of light to get there. That's way too slow. So what are you really going to be doing? You're actually going to be using the sort of quantum field of space-time itself to entangle a state of information, probably within a person's actual body, augmented by the craft that you're in, to perceiving the localized, entangleable information around a planet. So you're essentially telepathically, astrally, as they would put it in metaphysical terms, tuning in to another location in space-time, just like remote viewing, right? All this proof that's coming out about remote viewing and how there's all this actual fact around it. Essentially, you're doing that with a spacecraft, and then you're jumping the craft to that location. And you can use other beings and people that essentially are coordinators of this kind of telepathic network to do this kind of travel. But none of them are using radio waves or light beams to coordinate that communication or that travel, because they don't need to. They're way beyond that technology.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing. I love saying the word observe when we talk physics, right? So we observe the craft here.
Yeah.
Well, we don't understand. With what we understand, we're thinking they lit a candle on the end of some fireworks, and did a chemical reaction, and that's how they got here, because that's what we understand, right? And barely, a warp drive that is still very analog. As cool as it sounds, it's not what we're referring to here, and we simply wouldn't understand it if we observed it.
Yeah, well, and it's capable of being understood, but I think that the people that I meet that really kind of understand the galactic civilization, they're generally very spiritual people. They're people that have done a lot of deep work inside themselves and have come to understand how consciousness interacts with the universe, and thus get insights into how light interacts with the universe and how it's possible for consciousness to jump here or there. And then you start to get the idea of how an advanced civilization would augment those natural abilities, just like we're doing right now. Like we're essentially, Gabriel's horns right now. We're broadcasting out to the whole planet, and everybody can hear our voices, right? That would be like a metaphysical miracle not too long ago.
That is some black magic. That is some supernatural satanic stuff,
Yes, exactly. So essentially these capacities of the ability to externalize, say, your ability to project your consciousness to another location, but instead do that with a craft that's going to be able to pick up that biofeedback information from you and with you and travel like an extension of your body with you so that other people can hang out with you and you can go to another star system. Awesome. But even to get to that point, you have to develop a lot of proficiency in certain spiritual technologies, the ability to have telepathy, to translate different kinds of communication from different kinds of people through the universal translator of light language, so to speak, through the ability of understanding that creation in space-time itself is occurring partially as a function of feedback of consciousness. So we realize we're deeply interconnected with this whole fractal holographic universe, and we start applying that knowledge into our technical understanding and our engineering. And right now on Earth, our sciences just haven't quite got there yet. They haven't realized there's been such an intense need to separate the subjective conscious observer from the objective scientific proof that we've essentially created a divide ourselves from the ability to integrate these two levels of knowledge and actually make a massive leap forward in our sciences. And I think that's what's happening right now. That's where we're at.
It's amazing to me Adam, how a physicist can talk you into believing in an entanglement or the multiverse or 11 dimensions or string theory, right? They can talk you into all of that, but they don't believe in ghosts. Right? It's like, wait a minute here. It doesn't make any sense because it's the same thing.
Right. You're not going to believe, like a lot of times, limitation in beliefs of, say, like a non-corporeal consciousness is actually based on some deep internal trauma. Probably being part of a religion, for example, that was trying to hammer into you the idea of the soul and the idea of God, and God is this commander and he's going to do this. But then the person who follows this religion, who's your priest or whatever, is like abusive, or, you take on these beliefs that life is scary and sexuality is bad and like all of these things, and you take on all these programs under this religious constraint and belief system, by the way, most of which was also used to slaughter people not too long ago. If you thought anything different than what the Catholic Church thought as it was rolling across Europe, like if you believed that herbs could heal someone, you were going to get killed. You're going to be burned at the stake for that. So taking in the larger context, we can see the pattern of trauma that's occurred within these different kinds of religions. And then when we apply that to the lens now, we can see that the reason that someone ejects out of their family's religion and becomes an atheist isn't necessarily because they're on a search for understanding like the truth about reality. At one level, they're rejecting the vision of reality that they've been ingrained with. And they don't ever really want to look back there because there's so much pain there, right? But what happens is I think that when people are able to go through that rejection, that questioning, actually start looking and start opening back up to, well, maybe it's not all false. Maybe there's hints of truth in that religion. Maybe there's hints of truth in this that I'm just rejecting because of my personal experience and my personal trauma that I went through. And now I start to actually accept the fact that as I'm doing this atheistic scientific research, I'm noticing certain patterns and certain logic that simply is more complex and beautiful than can be explained by random stuff running into random stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That there is greater patterning to the unfolding of the universe.
Yeah, that you're exactly right, and it's so. Why do I need to spend my time with something that I can't measure, right? And so they just stay in that safe zone, right? If they can't measure it, if they can't observe it correctly, and then repeat it, they're not going to waste their time, and they're not embarrassed. Maybe they would, like you said, right? Something in their past. They don't want to go into that zone. So they're going to stay right where they can measure. And if they can't measure consciousness or ghosts, right, then they're not going to go there. Simply not. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Adam Apollo. Now, right before the last break, we started to talk about a tear in the sky. I'm not going to let that go. We're going to circle back after this break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
Hi, I'm Ray Sobbs, and I'm here to tell you about something I really think you're going to like. The UNX Network is a part of a larger group called UNX Media, and one of the things we offer is the quarterly UNX magazine, which is available both in print and digital formats. This amazing magazine covers all aspects of the unexplained and makes for a great coffee table periodical that is certain to spark enlightening conversations in your living rooms. We invite you to check out the latest digital issue for free. Just go to unxnetwork.com/membership and fill out your free membership with your name and email and become a new free member. The new summer issue is now available, and the theme is Time Anomalies, which includes a feature article written by our managing editor, Lee Spiegel. Just go to unxnetwork.com/memberships. That's unxnetwork.com/memberships and get your free e-copy of the UNX magazine today.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Faded Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Adam Apollo is with us. And Adam, so you were talking about earlier. We're gonna get to a tear in the sky here, but you brought up like the Spanish Inquisition, and do you remember the movie Javier Bardem, Goya's Ghosts?
No, I don't think I saw it.
Okay, tonight after the show, go watch that.
Goya's Ghosts.
Yeah. It's, the artist Goya, right? Okay, just go watch that. It's about the Spanish Inquisition, and done in a way. I just got to tell you, if I ever do a time machine, right? That I'm not going there.
Yeah, I would highly recommend you not go there.
Avoiding that at all costs, man.
No kidding.
At all costs. Have you watched Better Call Saul?
No, I haven't actually. Yeah, I think that one's on my list, or somebody mentioned it to me recently.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Well, anyway, the series just ended.
Yeah.
Right. But there's Saul, Jimmy Saul. Throughout the series, he keeps asking this question: if you had a time machine, where would you go? Right. So it's this repeated thing. So just check that out. But I can assure you that the Spanish Inquisition, that's not the era that you want to go and visit. All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before you move on from that, because I think it's it's a topic that I don't want to go too super deep into, but I do want to make one remark, which is that I'm sure you've noticed, as well as myself and many, many others, how in the sort of social media sphere, that if you logically challenge certain individuals' posts, if you're like, well, are you sure that makes sense? Because I don't know. And did you notice that, the way that you're saying this could make certain groups of people, certain races, certain genders, things like that, really feel attacked and assaulted by the way that this is being expressed, and how sometimes people defending their ideas can get so extreme that they just say, well, you must be a member of the dark cabal. You're an evil devil worshiper. Jimmy, I'm sure you get that one probably a lot just because you did rock music, right? And
I get it 1,000 times a day.
And it is like, you're a devil worshiper. You're an evil member of the cabal. You're just what? Why? Because I questioned that QAnon lied 10,000 times about different things. That makes me evil, right? And the way the mentality is held reminds me of an exact echo of the Spanish Inquisition. Because, in the Spanish Inquisition, the woman who's the herbalist, they're like, you're a witch, admit you're a witch, and we'll kill you fast. If you don't admit you're a witch, we'll kill you slow until you admit you're a witch, right? Like, there is no way out because the conceptual framework is so set in its perception that it has no capacity to actually have conversation or learn or grow. And I just want to point that out, that we still live in a world where that's going on. And it's very sad to me. And
it's crazy. It's as simple as this, Adam. I can post right now chocolate cream pie. That's my post. I am now a government shill working for the Vatican.
You evil man. Your cream pies. Oh my gosh. Well, check this out. I had this guy recently who I actually, thought was my close friend and deeply respected him, essentially assault me because his sister, as he put it, did this post that essentially was written in a way that when you read it, it seemed to really be hacking at, let's say, transgender, LGBTQ community, anybody who's not standard man and woman partner, normality, gender normality, as you'd call it, right? And so I was like, hey, you know, that's actually probably offensive to a lot of people. And I ended up having a great conversation with her about it. But he made it his personal vendetta to attack me. And then after I'm fending off his attacks for a certain amount of time and essentially like trying to understand why has this person who was my friend turned so violent that he thinks I'm a devil worshiper, that he's calling me a member of an agent of the dark, all of this stuff. And when I actually keep kind of just trying to understand where it's coming from, I finally get down to the point. And the point is that he had this massive trauma as a child. The point is that he literally had a rape experience from someone he defines as a tranny person when he was a little child. And that pain carried through his whole life, all the way to this moment where I'm defending people's choice of gender. And turns it into, because I'm defending people's choice of gender by questioning the way something is written, I'm now an evil servant of the devil, right?
But it's actually,
wow.
It is so much deeper than that, though. And let me
please go.
Yeah, it's deeper in that we are still learning how the ability with social media and the internet in general to interact with people without hearing voices or having a conversation. And we are getting into their bubble, their sphere, and without fully understanding it. And like I said, it could be chocolate cream pie, whatever it is. And not having we haven't matured enough to understand how this affects not only us or somebody else directly, and how this can flame out and go crazy very quickly when we don't understand everybody else. And this is all over the place now, where, and here's my point. Oh, is that you mute? Oh, you muted.
Let's go. I'm still here.
That was crazy. It got so clean and quiet. But it just 25 short years ago, 1995, AOL and the internet just coming into our lives. Prior to that, just a week before, right? Our access to other people was walking by them in the hallway and interacting with them. We weren't interacting in real time with somebody in Spain, right? We weren't doing that yet. And so our ability to get into somebody's world and ask them questions or have a conversation was purely one-on-one. Our information sources were newspapers, a couple channels of TV, and hanging out with people. That was your information source. Today, it's not that kind of party, and we are learning very quickly some of the ramifications, some of the negative side effects of this ability to interact in real time. And that's where, for me, how do we protect ourselves from not only the bubble, but how do we protect ourselves from feeling attacked like your friend or you, because you felt attacked, right? And it's crazy. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe in 5 or 10 years, we'll understand. Our DNA will change a little bit, and we'll have it built inside of us how to interact in real time with the rest of the world and getting into somebody's life.
Yeah, well, Jimmy, like, as long as you hold a belief that something is true, somebody is going to believe something different. And either way, you could be attacked, they could attack you. You could feel any level of violence in communication, even questioning, even pointing out how something can be damaging, how something has caused damage in the past, can seem like a personal attack when you're coming from a different perspective than somebody else. And I think that, we're in a place where we have to start actually being willing to step outside of our own limited perspective in a situation, try to see and understand why somebody else is triggered, or why you're triggered, looking at your own nervous system. Why did this just heat me up? Why do I feel so important about defending this idea, and taking a step back and looking at those dynamics in order to better hold ourselves when we're triggered, and also to have greater compassion for other people when they're triggered, and actually get down to the why that trigger has happened. And through that process, we can actually have dialogue, we can have growth, we can understand each other's viewpoints. Everybody gets more out of the situation when we can actually have a conversation. And a lot of social media in our current state and the way it stands, it's reactive. So it's just like, I put this out there, other people see it, they react to it, and they throw stuff back at it, or they really love it, or they really hate it, or it really triggers them, or whatever it is. But beyond that, is there a conversation that's going to happen? Because that takes actually kind of a lot of effort, and both people have to show up, talk back and forth, try to be civil, not call each other names, and that level of maturity doesn't exist in a lot of online comment threads.
It just doesn't
at this point in time.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And here. I don't know how we got off on this tangent, but this is a very valuable conversation. Yeah. And one of the things, I'll make this very brief. Mm-hmm. Years ago, I was away at a conference. And I had no TV in my hotel room, never turned it on. I didn't mess with my cell phone. I'd come back after 4 days. I'm feeling pretty dang good, right? And I walk through the house, turn on the TV, and it flicks to whatever, Fox or whatever, CNN. Mm-hmm. And on the TV is ISIS burning people in cages, right, with flamethrowers. And I immediately got ill, right? Physically, and I turned it off. I said, I'll never do that again. I'm done. And I figured out very early how negativity, both visually and in words, affects me. So therefore, I don't do it. I don't mess with social media. I don't mess with the news. I read the news, but I select it. I don't let it randomly get into my face, right?
Right.
But no, I selectively do it. I monitor the world, but I do it selectively, and I don't mess with social media. I post, but I don't interact. I don't read your stuff. You can.
Sorry, all you amazing Twitter people who love the show. Jimmy is not going to respond to the cat picture, or the whatever. So, sorry, guys.
But they know.
I try to respond sometimes.
But Adam, they know this.
Yeah.
First off, I don't have the time to read 10 or 20,000 posts in a day. I don't do that. But the point is, they understand this. That I don't get involved with the negativity. I'll block. I'll do this. I don't let it interfere with me. And I have found that I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And Adam, back to your point, in the 70s, in the 80s, back in the good old days, we didn't have the ability to get affected as quickly. Right, we didn't have the negativity coming at us from all directions, and it was just a different world, and we didn't spend our time with negative issues all day long. We actually did things, right? We actually,
all the way through, even after the birth of internet, and I was in high school in the late 90s, and I had the grace of if I really messed up or did something wrong, I just basically had to deal with eating it through the people that told each other that had some reflection on that among friends or whatever, because I screwed up. And, now though, in high school, somebody, does something embarrassing, or even somebody bullies someone and makes them do something embarrassing or forces them into some kind of situation. Somebody catches it on a camera phone. It's on TikTok. It's on, Facebook. It's on Instagram. Now it's like this whole massive wave of not only embarrassment from the direct people that saw your mistake, but all of these other people. And this psychologically tries to force people into a state of self-control and perfection that I think we're going to see a lot of the ramifications of that as a lot of this generation gets older. But I also see a lot of maturation forced to occur faster because of exposure to so much more information, so much more social exposure, so much more, essentially accelerated connection with the world. And I think inevitably this process is good, that we're learning, we're growing, we're developing, but there also needs to be intelligent ways that we apply our gifts to creating better systems that can actually serve people in their learning, in their growth process, in their connection, that's more healthy, that's not also under the power and the control of strongly manipulating corporations that are just trying to essentially steal your data, make as much money from you as possible. As long as that's the game that's driving our communication systems, boy, I mean, it's the Ready Player One vision of like the way the world looks, when Meta, which is IOI, takes over the planet and the world looks like crap. And so everybody just escapes into this virtual world. And even the way it's propagated now, people think, oh, that's going to be amazing when the Oasis exists. But look at the world that the guy lives in the movie. That's the other side of the story.
Right.
And that's the side of the story we need to integrate right now and look at how our technology can either be a detriment to our world or it can support us in actually unifying and doing regenerative impact to make a change in the world.
Well, ET would have to have gone through this, right? I'm telling you, the mothership lands, right? ET steps down. Well, you know what? We're just letting you know. You still got social media. So when you guys get through that, we'll come back. Right? You guys got a lot of issues to work through, man. You still have Facebook and Twitter.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, it's not that the technology itself of connection is bad, but it's the way that the algorithms and the systems have been designed. I often look at it from the lens of like, how did Facebook get created? Well, it got created from the level of thinking from a guy who was in a dorm in a college trying to essentially see who's cool or not and who's hot or not, right? And that level of thinking created the seed of a community system and a communication system that's essentially grown from that seed and is now just basically a giant dorm room where people attack each other and they hole up behind their walls of their belief systems and, are constantly self-promoting and trying to be the cool one with the most amount of followers. Right. It's all of those dynamics are baked into the heart of the way the platform was designed right from the beginning.
It's so crazy. And here's the thing. Somewhere, and I don't know exactly the timeline here, but I'm going to say in the last 5 to 6 years, the phenomenon started. But somewhere it became okay to be offensive and say whatever. And you would not go into somebody's house as a guest for dinner and sit down and go, oh, and by the way, you wouldn't say that stuff to somebody's face, but it is now okay just to do whenever because you're hiding behind, oh, it's free speech. You're not going to free speech that in my house. You might get a karate chop to the neck. And if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, it's like it's the loss of mutual respect and chivalry and cadence, out of a sense of anonymity, which you can really see the worst of in places and accounts that are, fully anonymous. For example, YouTube is a tough one because, you have all of these people with accounts that have no reference to who they are or any background or anything. They're just on there to troll and attack and to create dramas and play out, sick psychological traumatic patterns
and
that they
feed
have
off
inside.
that energy. They feed off that energy.
It. Yeah,
Right.
It's really sad. And, and that's not to say that there has to be total transparency all the time between people's identities and what you choose to do or where you choose to go, but some sense of validation and verification of trust and identity, meaning that if you post to me like that, you act like that I should be able to actually lower my trust in you to the point that I never see anything that you post again. That's my choice. That's not an algorithm's choice.
Nope.
That's just my choice. And even blocking doesn't really do that dynamic correctly because it's actually bi-directional. So if I trust a lot of your conversations and your posts, Jimmy, and the things that you're creating, in the area of new sciences or ufology or, extraterrestrial contact or paranormal experiences, I want to see more of your content in those areas because I trust you and the kind of information that you go out and get in the world and the kinds of things that you share. Whereas I might trust somebody else who's a really great chef in the area of making, a great cedar salmon, on the fire. And I have no idea if you know how to cook salmon well, Jimmy, but I know this person does because that's things that they share. And so I want to see what their gifts are and their recipes are and those things in that area of my life. And there may be things that from certain people I want to see a lot of, Nassim Haramein, I want to see a lot of his physics work, but there might be other areas of life that I don't want to see, that I don't care about their opinion on because I know how they behave in those circumstances or in those areas. And so it's all about not black and white. It's actually really seeing the full spectrum of understanding and how we can relate and how we can still have connection, even if it's in certain areas and not other areas in life.
Salt, pepper, little lemon, butter is how I do my salmon.
Nice.
I don't play around. I don't goof around with, whatever, almond chips, No. Little salt, little pepper, little lemon. Maybe if I'm getting really crazy, little olive oil brushed on the top on the grill. That's how I do it. And so
I like to do the skin up, body down on garlic and shallots, and then flip it before those burn. Scrape those off. Put some salt, pepper, lemon slices on it. I like Trader Joe's ground lemon pepper on there.
Oh, man,
and then
so
when I
good.
flip it back, the lemon kind of keeps the moisture in and you just lay them on the top. But I
Right.
flip it back and I leave the lemons there. So then it caramelizes the lemons. It actually grills the lemons underneath. And the skin acts as like an insulator because at that point it's all crispy. And so now you're insulating that. And you can pull the skin off and flare it before you flip it back and that kind of thing. But that's one of the big tricks.
Yeah, the skin is the flavor, man. The skin is the flavor, and peel it off, but you've got to cook, all of that fat back into the salmon. See how we do it here on Fade to Black.
You get recipes, you get UFOs, you get science. It's awesome.
So 2 segments in a row blew right past Tearing the Sky. We will do that when we come back. I promise.
Yeah.
We got salmon out of the way. Our guest tonight, Adam Apollo. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unix Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. What a great show tonight. Yeah, I don't know how we ended up doing social media and salmon recipes, but Adam, really quick, are you watching the chat room?
Actually,
all right, hold on. I had you muted. Are you watching the chat room?
No, I actually just was looking at the F2B Twitter. I thought that's where most people talk. But you got a chat room on your website now?
I do. There's a chat room. See, if you go to your right in the upper corner, it says comments.
Okay.
You see, you can click on that, and you will get all of the chat room comments in real time. But you know what? No, don't click on that. You're going to get distracted because everybody's talking about how handsome you are, and you don't want to read that stuff. It'll throw you off. But
fair enough. Thanks for the heads up, though.
I told everybody when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about the ultimate red sauce, and we'll discuss that. Okay, let's get to. I do want to talk about a tear in the sky. Yeah. And so I'm going to go directly at this. Mm-hmm. When you first saw the video, we'll talk about the data in a second, but when you saw the video, what went through your mind?
Yeah, well, I watched the film. I'm good friends with Caroline Corey, and, we've been on a few panels together at different big conferences, and Conscious Life Expo, I think, was the last time. And we got deep into the conversations around how do we validate consciousness? How do we validate extraterrestrial experience? And she, told me about this project, and I found that, I knew a lot about her approach in advance. So I was watching it from the lens of kind of validating the science, seeing how they approached it, and, the fact that they triangulated 3 viewing locations and what kinds of electromagnetic spectrum they were observing, from infrared to ultraviolet to visible light to, a variety of other kinds of detectors of motion and sonic waves and other kinds of disturbances, essentially to have the most kind of comprehensive wavelength detection possible to see within that area. And as I watched the film, I could see the level of depth that they were going for, and the bet that they were making, that within literally 5 days, they're gonna catch something in this area of the sky that, frankly, is just so close to highly populated areas. I mean, if I was hanging out in a spacecraft around the planet, like, it's probably not the zone that I would choose to come in at. But it seemed that they continued observing interesting phenomena within this space, and almost as if they opened up a conversation to have, that there would be some things that would be shown as a way to sort of help people accept a little bit more of this story and a little bit more of this bridge. And so I thought that Caroline did a great job storytelling, sort of arranging the flow of how things unfolded. And essentially it leads to this great moment, essentially, that doesn't even occur when they're watching. They had exciting things that happened when they're watching, but then they have the machines just running and capturing information, and it's while they're not watching. They're going through the data after this big experiment, and suddenly here's this thing that occurs. And what I saw when I watched this tear in the sky open, the namesake of the essential film itself, is what I saw is someone essentially opening a standing wave wormhole. Like, they actually opened a Stargate from some other location to this location in the sky, above the water between Catalina Island and, the coast where LA is. And part of what you can see is when this thing opens and it's capturing the infrared light and it's capturing all of the thing, is that through this hole, there's all of these brilliant infrared light points out on the other side, which are either stars, because it's opening a wormhole to another location with a star pattern behind it, or they're other ships. And then the thing closes and there stays a brilliant bright point of light, right? So something came through this opening and closing, this dilation of a wormhole, and stayed on this side. And I thought, man, that's a great start. Because why not take the same equipment out to somewhere far away from all of the massive cities and actually have some people like myself or, Greer or others that call in ships and call in a starship and actually call them in and do some like high level recording of the contact experience that occurs. Like, that would be truly defining, I think.
Well, this is what's crazy to me. Let's take it a step further. They happen to have the data collection machina pointed at the right spot at the right time to capture the data and also the video, right?
Yeah.
How often is this going on around our planet and we never see it ever? And this was over Los Angeles, right? This is right off the coast of Santa Monica and Laguna, out to Catalina Island, right? The triangle. If they hadn't have been pointing in that direction, they wouldn't have seen it either, right? This is going on over Los Angeles. That's the crazy part. And then later, the USGS. This is what's nuts. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the USGS reported an earthquake under the water at a specific time and gave the Richter scale. But that's not what's important. So they do this. The press release goes out to the media in Los Angeles, which they do. Then they retracted it and said it wasn't an earthquake. There was a disturbance, but it wasn't from an earthquake, and we don't know what it was. And it was pretty big. Now, wait a minute here. What's going on in that area out there? And so just like the USGS, and they report, we're talking about data collection. It's data, and we've got to go back and observe all of this and try to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, well, and even in that film, they capture what looks like some kind of object come down out of the sky at super fast speeds and then go down into the water. And, you know, there was interest in essentially understanding some of the Navy's observation of these craft going in and out of the water. And, you know, when you've got a craft that's got essentially a space-time envelope drive around it to create, you know, this beautiful, easy gravitational envelope, it's able to move through dense matter and objects, you know, like water, just as easily as it moves in empty space or in the sky or anywhere else. It doesn't matter what kind of medium it's traveling through. It's going to essentially have the same maneuverability, the same capabilities, because it's actually separated the internal space-time of the craft from the external space-time of the craft. You know, but just going back to like the witnessing part, Jimmy, like I know people, I've met people that have never seen a shooting star ever in their lives. And that completely blows my mind all the time, because I've seen millions of shooting stars. I mean, I can't go outside at night at all without seeing a shooting star. Plus, I've seen things that are clearly not shooting stars thousands of times, including ones that will go like a shooting star, slow down, turn 90 degrees, and go a different direction, which shooting stars don't do. And, you know, I have a housemate that I decided to experiment with one night because she's been wanting to see ships and have an experience. And so we go out and we start talking and kind of open up the field to call in some star family to come hang out. And sure enough, not only do they start shooting across the sky and then blinking at us and, you know, staying in the same spot, just doing this bright blink, you know, and then staying off for a minute and then bright blinking a few other times as we're talking. And then the thing, you know, lights up, moves really fast like a shooting star, but slows down and then stops. You know, like shooting stars don't slow down and stop, right? Like, and so these kinds of visible phenomena can be really nice confirmations for us having an experience of witnessing something that is obviously not an aircraft. It's obviously not a shooting star. But it's actually really just step one, because them showing themselves in a ship in response to your consciousness attempting to connect and communicate is happening because they want to have a conversation. They actually want you to open up and have a communication with them. And they're testing how capable are you of getting past the visible phenomena and to the part that wants to have a conversation. If you can do that, then you're going to actually see some really amazing stuff and you'll get some really interesting information, which is what I've, you know, sort of scientifically practiced since 2005, is how to actually get real information through real contact experiences, through real connections with beings on ships, and try to bring some of that knowledge and that information to people.
Okay, so I was just going to, I'll wait till after the break. We'll come back to overtime and I'll get this ready. I shot some stuff the other day. I'm not going to, with my night vision, and I held up my cell phone and tried to record it, and I captured some amazing stuff. I was watching anyway. So this was like the flashing you're talking about, and I captured just a fleet of craft. I don't even know how to explain it, moving across. So anyway, I've got that, and I'm gonna make the video and get that up on YouTube as soon as I can, when time allows. But here's the thing, though. When you go back and you looked at it's the video in A Tear in the Sky that we can connect with immediately, because we don't understand necessarily what EM and these measurements and radiation, which was all collected. When you went back and started to see how the data was collected, what does that then tell you about this phenomena that happened over Catalina?
Yeah, it's just that there is no way to disprove the phenomena by suggesting that there is some kind of optical effect occurring. Like, you can tell that it's not just light bending in the atmosphere in some weird way around a cloud or a piece of lightning or something like that. Because when you're looking at things across this whole spectra of different devices, you can see its heat levels, you can see its refractivity, you can see is it putting out any kind of sonic impulse or wave that's affecting the atmosphere around the object. Like, there's just a lot more information that you can gather with this more advanced equipment. Plus, you can then also verify positioning based on radar. And there was some local coordination with radar as well to be able to detect, the appearance of objects and disappearance of objects. And so you're now using all of these different kinds of light waves and measurement systems that you can then absolutely prove that it's not just some optical phenomena.
The consciousness aspect to this, though, when we talk about superluminal and if entanglement has to come into the conversation, where there isn't a delay, apparently, from what I have observed, when something is seen in the sky, when you think about it, right? Where this is an instantaneous communication. Is this getting too woo? I mean, is it getting way too out there where I can think, okay, come on, wink at me, and the wink friggin' happens?
Well, it's only as woo as you're, the part of you that questions, is it even possible that you're having this experience? Which is what a lot of people do, right? A lot of people go into the state of like, oh, why do I deserve to have this connection? Like, who is this? Why would they ever come here? Just because I'm looking for a craft, why would the craft interact with me at all? Right? And that's common. It's everybody's like, oh, I'm not special. Why would they ever show up for me? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But consider this, all right? Imagine you're on a starship and you can look at the Earth. And you can go over different regions of the Earth, and you not only can see in high detail what's going on down on the surface of the planet, like you can zoom in, you've got lensing systems, you can go down right down to the detail of a person or a license plate. I mean, you've got serious telescopic zoom capacities, right? Because it's just naturally part of the ship's instrumentation, right? And then you also have a vast array of instrumentation to read different kinds of fields. So you can see heat, you can see electromagnetism, you can see the whole range of the electromagnetic spectrum from the super low frequencies all the way up to the super high frequencies, from radio waves all the way down. I mean, you can even pick up radiation signatures off of objects. You can see how radiation is spreading from devices that, leak radiation and things like that. But you can also see, Jimmy, you can see what's going on at the Planck scale. You can see the reverberation of the field around people. Essentially what we'd call in the sort of metaphysics world and what's been popularized in the New Age traditions as seeing auras, right? Mm-hmm. Essentially picking up the actual resonance and the measurable resonance of the energetic field around a person, including to the detail of which when that energetic field is projecting in particular directions, right? So when I was a teenager, one of the things that woke me up was in the question of asking, how is it possible that I could feel it when someone's looking at me from across a room, right? I was 15 years old in these conversations, and it was partially that question of what's the physics of what's coming off of my eyes when I'm looking at somebody that could actually cause a tangible sensation in their body, right? A tangible connection.
Right.
And so now apply that to advanced technological energetic perception, being able to perceive the actual directional intentionality of someone's perception being projected into the sky, along with the emotional vibration of that projection into the sky, along with the desires, that there's all this information that's coming off of someone who is in a state deeply seeking to connect with something out there. And that looks like a ray coming off of the earth. And that ray coming off of the earth can be picked up in the instrumentation, and they're like, oh, look at this. Somebody who's deeply focused emotionally at a heart level on connecting with things outside of the planet. Let's go check them out. And so what do? You just bring the ship in real quick. You know, you do like a little fly in. You look like a shooting star, but then you're just chilling there. And you don't have a bunch of lights on the craft. So you're just watching. And you see suddenly that being down there, that little ray, flickers and flashes and gets excited because it just saw a shooting star, right? And now it's like focusing in even more on that area. And so then you like, all right, like flip up the engines real quick, like flash them. And so you flash, you know, the light system around the craft a couple times. Ooh, now they're really focused on you. And now you're in a position where you're directly lined up with that ray in this space where you can pick up the emotional and telepathic information coming from that person, which can literally be broadcast into the craft like a holographic audio projection, essentially, where it's like, okay, there's communication, there's resonance, there's information coming here. And you on the craft are like, hey, like, can you feel us? Are you able to receive information from us? Can you listen? And a lot of people, the answer is no. They're not listening. They don't care. They just wanted it to flash again. They just want it to fly across the sky again. But occasionally you come across people who are like, oh my gosh, there's a ship there. I really want to understand more about these beings. Who are these beings? They start asking questions. And then what happens is that that's a perfect opening for those beings to send information. And if the person's receiving of it, then they get their first experience of light language communication, which is essentially the way the galaxy communicates faster than light between star systems all over the place, right? And so it's like a little tiny onboarding to the more advanced phone system that eventually you'll all be capable of doing, right? So it's just onboarding. It's just a little tiny gift of onboarding that's going on, and the technology supports it.
And what is so wrong with that in the world of science? I mean, what? So I don't know how having an open mind and questioning things has ended. I mean, what is wrong with exploring that idea?
There's really nothing wrong with exploring it. It's just the impossibility factor that's a closed gate on the mind, right? So if it's impossible, like even Stephen Hawking, a guy who like I deeply respect his life and his work and his physics, but the guy's like, there's no way extraterrestrial civilizations are ever coming here. They would never be able to make it. And if they did, it'd be pointless because it would take them hundreds and hundreds of years and they'd just be coming for resources. I'm like, dude, like we're literally building diamonds one molecule at a time on Earth, and you don't think a replicator is possible? Like we literally are starting to teleport communication, you know, and quantum states between the Earth and satellites. You don't think entanglement's possible, or that actually creating a standing wormhole bridge could be possible? It's absolutely possible, bro. It just takes a deeper level of openness to those kinds of physics and that kind of advanced understanding.
Well, I mean, isn't it just down to basics where, Copernicus and Galileo, if they weren't wondering, right? If they weren't thinking, because we had a closed world, we had an accepted way of thinking, right? But they took it beyond that. That is what needs to be applied today. I know that we're getting closer to that, but still we're fighting it. And thinking with an open mind needs to be applied to science. It's really that simple.
That's right. And we've had openings and closures, sort of dilations and contractions in our ability to be open to new information over and over again throughout history, right? And a lot of times the contractions occur around fundamentalism and essentially trying to say, this is the truth, the one truth, the only truth, that's the truth, period, right? And religions have been notorious at this. Like, this is the one true way to God, right? and so that kind of perception and that relates to our conversations around the Spanish Inquisition and treating people terribly because you're afraid that they're part of some evil force that's coming to get you, and reacting out of trauma. And all of these things are interconnected to acts and processes essentially that make people fundamentalist, where they try to defend this little safe bubble that they're in. And they defend it so strongly that they're just slamming swords into everybody around them, right? And then there's this unfolding process that happens, this sort of dilation or opening that occurs because the acts of one fundamentalist person that might be a priest in a religion is so disturbing to someone who's in that church as a child or whatever, that they're like, actually, I can't trust this information that's being given to me. I can't trust that this is the whole truth because I'm learning it in school, or because I'm learning it in church, or because my parents told me, or because of this or that. And their questioning of it and their desire to open to a larger understanding is like a fuel that brings them new information and new possibilities. And the more they stay open to those possibilities, the more that's going to keep coming in. And people go through these radical transformations in themselves and in their life, radical awakenings. And it's uncomfortable to go through that. It's uncomfortable to have all your beliefs shattered. It's uncomfortable to be in a different place than your parents and your friends. And especially if you're in a different place than your friends, a lot of people tend to revert back. They close back up because they don't feel like they can be the new self that they are and be accepted by their friends around them. And so this dilation and contraction sometimes happens from peer pressure. It's cultural pressure. But I think we're building momentum on the planet right now where enough people are consistently saying, hey, but maybe there's more. Maybe more is true than what I think. And I'm open to understanding more about reality. I think that's crucial.
Yeah, it is crucial. And we're going to head to a break. And when we come back, I want to get to something from nothing, or was there always something there before there was nothing? And we're going to talk about all of that when we come back. But here's the thing. I am fully woo. I am.
Jimmy is woo.
I'm woo. But I need science to help me work through the woo. I need the science to support the woo so I know that I'm not crazy. I believe in the woo, but I need the science to guide. And I think that we're on a collision course right now, and I love it. And it's going to be gnarly when these two trains hit head on. Let's take our break. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Let's take our break right here. Because when we come back, there is a lot of debate now out there in academic circles if the Big Bang ever even happened. And what was there before the Big Bang? Well, I'm going to find out from Adam when we come back. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be back after this quick break.
listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Right now, EdenPURE is having their famous BOGO deal on Thunderstorm air purifiers. One listener wrote, "It makes a huge difference in our cat litter box stink. I just wish I waited for the BOGO deal. I need another one." Well, now's the time. BOGO is back, so when you buy one Thunderstorm, you get one free. No matter how many you buy 2, you get 2 free. You buy 5, you get 5 free. The Thunderstorm will completely eliminate any odor, even the worst like pets, cigarette smoke, urine, and cooking. Now is the time to order. EdenPURE's buy one, get one free sale is 1 week only. With over 265,000 Thunderstorms sold and countless 5-star reviews, you know it works. People are buying several for around the home and even as gifts. Just go to EdenPureDeals.com and use discount code FADERBOGO. That's FADERBOGO, FADERBOGO. BOGO is buy one, get one free. That's EdenPureDeals.com, discount code FADERBOGO. And as always, shipping is free.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can, right now, get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back Little electronic short. Heading into overtime with our guest tonight, Adam Apollo. And I want to let everybody know that I just got an email from, actually, I got texts that were coming in during the show from Steve Barone in Las Vegas. And he says he's got the best UFO video he's ever captured. So he's got, I've got access to the video before he posts it. So I'm going to watch this after the show. When Steve Barone says this, his channel is UFOs Over Vegas. It's got some of the most incredible stuff I've ever seen. Nice. But when he sends me an email like this, it catches my attention. So I'll keep everybody posted. And we'll see what's going on there. Great. The debate, right? Here's the thing when it comes to the Big Bang. It's dogma in that it's been repeated enough that it has become the rule of law. I get that, and I've tended to accept it over the years, but now I realize, Adam, that our universe is only, if we stay with the dogma, 13.8 billion years old. Well, that's a short amount of time. It's a blip. Time is infinite and forever. So therefore, if we're talking about, our universe possibly lasting 100 trillion years, and we're only at 13.8 billion, it has to have gone on forever everywhere else. And I'm not buying the Big Bang side of it as much anymore, in that time didn't start there. There must have been something before. Where are you on this Big Bang debate right now?
Yeah, well, I'm most interested in understanding the sort of holographic relationships in the universe between what we can see and what we can know and what's useful information, right? And so I don't come out the gates saying, this is how it is. I come out the gates saying, let's actually look at what's here. What can we ascertain? And there's a couple of very interesting things that we can ascertain. And that is that if we count, for example, the number of Planck spherical oscillations within a proton, you end up with a number of tiny quantum oscillators that equal about 10 to the 60th, right? And it turns out, interestingly enough, that if that's the number, 10 to the 60th, and it's pretty specific actually, because it's a geometric measurement we can do based on charge radius of the proton, essentially finding out like how many of these Planck length quantum oscillators can fit within that space. So you get 10 to the 60th there. And then I happen to be doing this work on the quantum geometry of the proton, and I'm looking around at different Planck numbers and Planck time, and all of a sudden I look at the estimation of the lifetime of the universe in Planck time. And it turns out that the estimation of the lifetime of the entire universe, which is of course the translation of the amount of years we think, right, to an amount of Planck seconds. And it turns out there's 8 times 10 to the 60th Planck seconds in the lifetime of the universe. And I'm thinking, wait, the exact same order of magnitude as the amount of quantum oscillations inside of a proton? Like, is the actual time of the universe, times 8, of course, but like that, the fact that that's in the same order of magnitude is unbelievably, insanely, ridiculously synchronistic, right? Like
coincidental, yes.
You don't get a number with 60 zeros, after it, a number that big, and have 2 land in that same number space and it be completely coincidental or random, right? And so what that told me immediately was that literally there is a quantum vibration inside of every proton to match every Planck second of the lifetime of the universe itself, right? Meaning that that if the universe is growing from something, which we can see, it's pretty definitive that there's some kind of expansion going on. There are some controversy around redshift, blue shift. Could the redshift be just caused by certain gravitational distortions and things like that? But generally, if we look at every direction, there's some evidence that shows that the universe is growing, right?
It's moving and increasing speed.
It's growing, it's increasing in speed, it's expanding, et cetera, right? And so because of this growth, and you look at all life, all objects, things grow. Stars grow, like organisms grow, beings grow. Growth seems like a pretty natural holographic pattern that we see everywhere. And then you say, well, okay, if this thing's been growing, then basically everything about our measurements of the universe are all connected to its growth. So the number of Planck oscillations in a proton is equal to the number of Planck seconds in the lifetime of the universe, because literally every proton is recording every moment of its existence from the beginning of the universe. And all of that then, of course, presupposes that there must have been some start to that recording. And so maybe there was some kind of origination of the universe. Now, did it look like a Big Bang? I don't know. But maybe there was some origination event, some occurrence in which this sort of growth began from, the zygote, that's impregnated or whatever, right, in the life form. And there are some interesting theories and postulations about this. One of them is Harriman's, and he suggested to me at one point, he was like, well, what if a proton left another universe, exited its event horizon, and entering the empty space, whatever you mean, whatever that is, the space outside of space-time, as it entered this new realm of void space, that this proton exiting another universe expands and actually becomes a new universe, right? And all of the Planck oscillations in that proton become protons in the new universe, and there's this direct holographic relationship between its growth and its being and every element inside of it. It's all holographically, and fractally interconnected. And I think that's a certainly a viable theory and certainly a viable approach to this thought. But can we actually answer this question? I don't think we can. I think we can postulate. I think we can aim in the right direction, like I was talking about around the growth relationship between protons in the universe and looking at the macro and the micro, looking at how things move and evolve. But coming to some kind of definitive, this is what happened. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because all we're going on is just the fact that when we look through into the distance in the universe, we're looking back in time, and eventually we see this wash of microwave frequency, and that's it. All we can tell is that there's some kind of point where things are super young and the universe is awash with energy. But are we actually seeing the energy of the beginning of the universe when we're looking into the distance? Is an echo framework of that light that traveled? Because you have to take into account the relativity of light moving from every point within space, intersecting other points in space throughout the constant growth experience of the universe itself. And my friend John Soule has done a lot of amazing work in this, talking about sort of the quantum frame of the onion layers of time growth within the universe, and postulates, several other theories about how the universe came about, how it's growing, how all of this movement's happening. And I think it's open grounds for philosophical speculation.
Well, okay. So if we back up and we go 14 billion years ago, okay? All right?
Yep.
And we go to 14 billion years ago, what has been suggested is that there was nothing, right? Nothing. I'm not accepting that anymore. There's just no, we cannot be all that there is. Right. Everywhere.
Well, again, it all comes back to the same conceptual framework of like, hey, we're here on planet Earth. That means that we're special. Earth must be the center of the universe, and we must be the only life forms in existence, right? There's nothing alive out there, right? This is the general conception. Like, there's no life out anywhere else. That could be the case. How could God make more than one planet with life? You're like, we're the special children of the divine, all of these things. There's all these belief systems. And so it's like, well, the same is true when you get to thinking about the entire universe. Why would you think that your universe is the only one that's ever existed? Like, what makes you that hubris to assume that this is the only universe? Right?
But here's the thing. Now, today, suddenly, it is generally agreed that there has to be life everywhere, right? That there are planets everywhere. Anywhere you look, there is a star with a planet or multiple planets around it. We've had that kind of paradigm shift, right? We have to then take another look at the possibility of this universe is not unique. We're not all that there is. I'm talking about not the Milky Way, not our star system, the universe. It's only 13.8 billion years old. Time goes on forever. Therefore, our universe is just one of an infinite amount of them. Infinite, going back forever. And whatever that intelligent design, whatever it is, that information that doesn't go away has gotten pretty smart over infinite time. Right?
Fair enough, Jimmy.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. And it's I think it's beautiful and important thought experiments for people to go through, is to consider these things. It's sort of the ultimate leap to open your mind to consider multiverses, to consider prior universes to this one, to consider, potential interconnection between universes and all of these kinds of things. And where things get really real is how our flow of experience works, how our memory works, And I've spent a lot of my life essentially accessing memories incarnated in other forms, in other bodies, in the previous times, and having memories and dealing with the fact that I know a lot of people from a lot of different time periods and have had to face memories and karmas and go through experiences where I had to deal with traumas that I faced and things that I dealt with where, I killed someone or someone killed me or went through losing a child, went through dying young and having to leave my family. And all of those things enriched my understanding of myself, my emotional content, my triggers. All of those memories helped me better navigate my life and give me greater skills to be able to face my life as it is now. And also bring skills with me. For example, like I consider myself a master swordsman, and I have a whole variety of different kinds of swords that I have capacity with. And how would I know that? I've never been trained by a swordsman ever in my life. But you give me any person who's proficient in a sword, that's been professionally trained, that's been through martial arts training and all kinds of stuff, I can hold my own with them easily. And how's that possible if I never had those experiences in the past? And that's one of many, many things that I've had to come to terms with. And as I've gone back in time and explored my memory and myself and my connections, I was able to get back to before I lived on this planet. I was able to get back through several other planetary systems that I lived in and other species and other worlds and understand those biospheres, and even to a point before I was in this galaxy and I was in another galaxy and having a very different kind of living experience. But it's like, how far can I go? Can I keep going from there? And I have had some visions and some insights of being in places that didn't seem like I was actually incarnated into a body. I was in some kind of spirit realm, playing with the ideas of geometries and matters and universes and consciousness and things like that. And the real question becomes, like, understanding where the universe came from or what exists or the multiverse or how that exists, it's only as valuable as its ability to reflect to us who we are and what our experience of the universe actually is. And what I find is that when things are true, they're fundamentally true across time, across lives, across every aspect of ourself, and it just resonates. It vibrates inside of us like a bell, and you can't shake it. But when things are not entirely true, like we're more kind of conceptually just like, yeah, all right, that's an interesting idea. Maybe this, maybe that, you know? And we play with things, we play with the mind. But when we land in the truth, it's like a current, and that current has charge to it. It's got inspiration to it. It moves us. It sings in our souls.
Does this go back to my point or the question I had earlier about information just surviving, right? And so that information from wherever, from a distant galaxy or whatever, that is what I was trying to refer to earlier, that it just doesn't go away, whether it's consciousness, however you want to apply words to it. We have difficulty today, Adam. We don't have the right words to describe different scenarios like this. We don't have the vocab, not yet. We will get to the point where we can apply words to the science. But is this information the consciousness that applies to you from or all of us with past lives? That the information just doesn't go away.
Yeah, it definitely does not. And that's what I'm getting at, is that like memory is something that's stored in atoms and in protons. But I actually, early on in my sort of growth into the business world, I became a special advisor and board member of what was called BioVision 2020, which was an organization essentially participating and speaking out about the dangers of genetic modification, especially of food. And the reason that I was brought into this is because I had done an extensive amount of personal research, and I had a lot of interest in genetics and in DNA and the way that DNA operates, and understanding the epigenetic triggers that cause genes to turn on and off. And I could bring a lot of scientific knowledge to that conversation around understanding that environment and our relationship to things is a critical part of our genetics. And that I already knew by that time, and this is, in my early 20s, that the so-called junk DNA, as we called it then, is actually morphology DNA that's happening as part of an interaction of what's going on within a being and its environment real time. Mm-hmm. That we are actually recording information from the environment and our experiences, and we're bringing information that's not ancestral into the current state of our experience. And what that potentially means, the ramification of what I'm saying, is that you're not just a combination of your dad and your mom. You're not. You are actually a combination of your dad and your mom and an information stream that you've been carrying as a soul. You could call it your soul genome. Mm-hmm. Through time, through the kinds of bodies, incarnations, spiritual experiences in the spirit world or in matter worlds that you've had, and you're bringing that into this body, which is a really good, landing point for why some kids look very different from their parents, why there's rare epigenetic triggers that get turned on in certain cases with certain kids. And it also, of course, bridges to all of the data that we've had coming out recently of kids remembering their past lives, knowing exactly where they were, who they were, where their plane crashed in the ocean, that we can find, and all of that. And I've had similar experiences. I know my exact name, who I was in certain places, where I lived, what I did, what I created, what I wrote. And it's a powerful experience to have that reconnection with the information that's part of you and who you are. And that information absolutely plays a role in how you live right now, how you interact with your environment, and what kind of genetic changes you do to yourself that are going to make your child different from their grandparents and from you, right? There's an evolutionary configuration that goes on in each of these sort of birthing cycles, and it's not just mom and dad's DNA that feeds that process. It's your experiences and who you are across time that changes that genome.
Extraordinary conversation tonight, Adam.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Extraordinary.
It's been great to be with you, man.
Yeah. And we're going to be hanging out maybe in about a month.
Hey, and you know what else? Before
keep that on the down low. We'll make that announcement later. Go ahead.
Yeah, we will be hanging out soon, and I think we should tell people about something else that we're doing together next year as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I want to just. Can I tell the audience? Are you good?
You're talking about the cruise.
Yeah. So Jimmy and I are doing this Hidden Secrets cruise together, where we're going to be on this 7-day cruise along the Pacific coast of Mexico, leaving from LA, going to Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, and essentially hanging out on this big epic boat. This is one of the most epic cruise ships ever, by the way. I just found out it has the longest water slide.
I know.
In the world, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's on the cruise ship.
I'm so
right?
Man. I'm going to freak people out when they see me go on that slide.
Yeah.
It's April 7th through the 14th. And
that's right. Yeah. And it's you can go to hiddensecretscruise.com, I think is the website URL. And since I'm your guest on the show, I have to tell them, Jimmy, that when they sign up and register for the cruise, they have to put my name down as who got them signed up. By the way, Jimmy and I get paid for who, if you say that we sent you, you came to the cruise to see us, we get paid for that. So it's a part of our exchange. Right. I think it's part of the exchange. So it's good to honor one of us in that way if you decide to come.
Absolutely. Everybody say Adam.
Thanks, Jimmy.
So there you go. Adam, behave and be well. I'll talk to you later this week. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Perfect show tonight, my man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great show. Thanks, everybody.
The absolute very best, Adam Apollo. And I've got to get out of here. I got to get straight to the credits because we just went bumper to bumper, pole to pole tonight with Adam. And perfect show, perfect conversation. And the links for the cruise are below. It's right there. Hidden Secrets Cruise, April 7th through the 14th, 2023. And click on it and go and check out all the info and the schedule of things. Fade to Black is produced by Hill J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitola, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. And this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night is Fader Night, open lines all night long. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.